There's definitely a lot of people that aren't liking The Mandalorian Season 3, including a lot of big-name YouTubers. I guess I get it. Sometimes filler is boring to some, and the revelation that Grogu is back with Din doesn't make a lot of sense unless you watch the Book of Boba Fett, but I'm not entirely sure that it's a fair judgment. Filler episodes are inevitable, and I think that what matters most is how they're handled. I personally love filler episodes, if they're done well. Rebels, for instance, is a show that is 75% filler, and I think that entire show is completely rewatchable, and is my absolute favorite Star Wars property outside of the original trilogy. The Mandalorian episode this week was very Clone Wars-esque in its storytelling. There's likely going to be a return of these characters and this world in the future, like a bigger picture kind of thing, and I'm perfectly okay with that. Very much like the Clone Wars, this episode explores a different world and its very different kind of government. Honestly, I felt that this episode was more of a worldly political message than anything else. In the Clone Wars, Lucas and Filoni explored pacifist societies, dictatorships, politically neutral societies, and many others, and each had their reasons to exist, and each had their self-defeating major flaws.
Constables aren't even allowed to carry blasters.
I always found those episodes to be amazingly interesting. In this episode, we got to see how a pure democracy can easily hinder itself from being able to defend itself within their own borders. That with each introduction of some new person or some new bit of technology, the citizens voted on new laws based on how they felt at the moment, and it's rather dangerous to do that. They may use the word utopia to describe themselves, but they are one bad decision away from complete political collapse and self-destructive anarchy. I thought it was brilliant, honestly. It's the very reason why we here in the US have a democratic republic instead of a pure democracy. Also, I love the Fahrenheit 451-like utopia distractions that people are unwilling to let go of even in the face of their own destruction.
Citizens voted against any interruption in droid services. They can't live without it.
I also realized that I would gladly watch a buddy cop detective show set in the Star Wars universe. That actually sounds like a lot of fun. Okay, look, I'm going to try to say this last part carefully because I'm not trying to insult anyone. We are each entitled to our own opinions, but with the current decline of Marvel and the superhero genre in general, I think maybe it's time that we recognize some of the negatives those movies and shows have done to us collectively. All action, all the time, and all plot all the time is not sustainable or preferable. Character building is necessary. The Clone Wars is a show that is completely built on the idea of filling the gap between episodes 2 and 3, making it a show that is arguably completely filler, and most fans love it. Marvel always felt empty to me because it very rarely delved deep enough into the characters to be interesting. Winter Soldier was great because it finally did start asking some interesting questions, and leaning on objective reality as a foundation for storytelling. But outside of that, I don't really care for Marvel movies or their storytelling. Action should be the icing on a story cake, so to speak, but not the cake itself. Star Wars, on the other hand, has always been about characters, family, mythos, faith, political persecution, and the journey in between the fights versus good and evil. Watch the first 2 trilogies again. There is some great action, but it's mostly talking and character development. It's wonderful, really. So my thought this week is that if we keep demanding that movies and shows mirror Marvel's action-packed and plot device-driven, but ultimately shallow storytelling type, then Star Wars will ultimately meet the same fate. It's the longer and more character-driven stories that last with us the longest. That doesn't mean that the filler episodes don't sometimes fall into the boring category, like a few of the Bad Batch Season 2 episodes did, but I just don't think that this is one of them. I'm going to be patient with the plot. This episode felt like I was watching George Lucas stories again, and I couldn't be happier. Tell me what you think in the comments. Did you like the episode? Do you think that Star Wars should have more action in it? Also, please like and subscribe. It really helps me out and I couldn't appreciate it more. Thanks for watching. See you next time.